Okay, here I am in spring in 1910 and feeling pretty good. Russia disbanded the fleet in North Sea, which was the worst thing that happened to me last turn, Russia getting in there. Russia could have disbanded a southern unit, but instead Russia chose to disband North Sea. That's awesome. That gives me free reign in the north, and I can pretty easily count up as to how I'm going to get to 17 supply centers, one less than the total needed to win. I'll have all the centers that I have, plus Portugal, which I can take easily, plus Liverpool, which I can take easily, plus Sweden and Norway, which are pretty much being conceded to me by Russia now, and inevitably St. Petersburg, since that can't be defended from the south. So, thinking through how I'm going to play the turn, my main concern has been, how do I get into a position where I'm somehow going to get an 18th center in time to be able to win? I thought really hard. I seriously entertained the idea of just attacking in all directions this turn to try to get as close as I can. 12 units is a pretty small number, especially for Germany, a central power, to be going for a solo win. But I thought about it. I thought about whether I could get the jump on Austria by moving into Piedmont. Maybe I could get my fleet in mid-Atlantic Ocean, somewhere positioned like North Africa or Spain. I thought about these things. And after thinking about it really hard, and Italy said, hey, listen, I'll throw you the game. I will throw you the game. I will help you win. Hands down, that's what I'm willing to do. Just count my units as yours. I'll do what you want. Wow, I thought, okay, if I add those in, that's kind of more like 15 units, maybe that's enough to try to go for a win. I thought really, really hard. But thinking how the game would play out, it was very difficult to figure out how the heck I would get to 18, because I know, or I anticipate, that if I moved my army at Marseille to Piedmont or did something else that's overly antagonistic to Austria and Russia are just going to unite. And then I'll have to fight out the match against the both of them. And that's not really doable to get to 18. And I'll explain what I mean. Even though I know I'm going to get these centers in the north, it will still take me it would take me some time to grind them down. And I have to devote some units if Russia puts up some kind of defense. So suppose I got into Venice with Italy's help, or take Tunis. I don't just have to capture that center. I have to be able to hold and defend it for a long time if Russia puts up a defense, especially if Russia sees that that's going to be needed to stop me. So it was really hard for me to come up with a scenario where somehow Italy's able to put me in Venice or Tunis, and we're able, even working together, put up a defense that I can hold out for the number of years it would take me to get all those remaining centers. Instead, I opted for what I view as the more strategic, the more far-sighted plan, which was to honor everything I said to Russia and to Austria. So Russia asked me to move my fleet out of the Baltic to Sweden, and I agreed to do this. Russia also asked me to stay away from crossing the stalemate line, and I mostly have done this. Austria, of course, doesn't want me in Piedmont, and I asked if I could go into the Mediterranean, and Austria discouraged me from doing so. So I decided to walk the line here, and here are my orders. I decided to hold with Spain and Marseille, hope maybe picking up in Portugal with Spain later on, depending on how things play out, and hold with Marseille, to support Burgundy to Munich with Berlin, to set up a wall there so that way nobody can come into it, move Kiel to Ruhr, so in order to free up Kiel later on for more builds, and from Ruhr I could either move to Munich or support Munich, and to make the support attack on Sweden using Baltic, to move Skagerrak to the North Sea. From there, I'll be a little closer to the west, but also I can make a supported attack on Norway, to move Edinburgh to Norwegian so that I can make a supported attack on Norway if necessary, and to hold with mid-Atlantic Ocean, sort of. After realizing that I was going to hold with the unit, I said to myself, hey, I could convoy to North Africa from Brest, and maybe that is not 100% congruent with what Austria wants me to do, but it's not the same as putting a fleet in the Mediterranean. And I never promised not to do it. An army's a little less threatening. I have hinted that maybe I would want Tunis later on, and that by convoying the army into Tunis, I don't have to backfill Mid-Atlantic Ocean or risk Mid-Atlantic Ocean to Russia or England or some shenanigans and whatnot. Holding with that unit otherwise, with the army in Brest, I couldn't think of much else I wanted to do with it. I could convoy it onto Great Britain, but that seems like overkill just to take Liverpool. That was my assessment. So ultimately, here's what I'm hoping for this turn. I hope to see Russia throw more centers to me in the north. That seems likely, but I'm playing it safe so I can take those centers by force if I have to. I hope to see Russia and Austria still locked down against each other in their little Cold War situation. And I hope that Italy puts up a spirited defense. I am sorry that I can't offer Italy more. I appreciate Italy's offer to try to throw me the win, but I think I ultimately decided that it's more important for me to try to keep Austria walking the line and not forming the stalemate line against me, and to creep towards Tunis than to openly go for the solo win. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe there's no way I can solo win. That's something I thought about here, where I thought, okay, if I all out attack now, I'm just going to get shut out of the 18th center that I need, or the players will form a stalemate line, or even if I temporarily get 18 centers, I won't hold on to it long enough to actually get to 18. I mean, temporarily cross the stalemate line, I won't actually get to 18 and win. Maybe that's the case, and maybe if I delay any further, Italy gets eliminated, and with the consolidated position, Austria can form a stalemate line against me that I can't get through. And it's possible that there's really not anything I can do that's going to change the outcome of the situation. But there is always possibility. It is possible that Austria will blunder. It is possible that Italy will make good guesses. It is possible that Russia will get fed up with what Austria is doing and offer to just throw me the game. Those are all possibilities. And I think all those possibilities are kept, the flame of that possibility is kept more alive if I am a more honorable player and I am not blatantly going for the solo win when it's maybe a premature moment. That's my analysis. That's what I decided to do. Let's see what happens. Let's see where my decision takes me. So this has been a very quiet turn for me. Other than Austria's initial reaction of, hey, you convoyed to North Africa. That crosses the Rubicon. That's it. You're going for the win. And I said, well, wait a second. I don't think you ever forbid me from convoying my army to North Africa. If I was attacking you, I would have moved to Piedmont, etc. There was this initial conversation between me and Austria about that. And Austria talked it out with me and said, okay, yeah, I guess we're still just playing things as usual. I don't see it that way. My main focus in persuading Austria of this was that what's the point of my playing if I'm not keeping alive the hope that I might get to Tunis? I can't win. I'll only ever reach 17 centers, so I would just be doing nothing. I would just be sitting around waiting to draw if I didn't. Austria seemed to understand that or sympathize with my point of view. So that happened early on, and then after that it was very quiet. The Italian player just said, hey, geez, man, come on. Why didn't you go after Piedmont? I'm dead for sure. Your chance to win is past. Maybe that's true. I have a different strategy. I do think Italy's about to be knocked out. Russia talked to me not at all, and England didn't say anything. And for the rest of the turn, Austria and I said very little, just about, what's gonna happen? Austria said, I'm gonna finish off Italy. You do what you want to do, but that's what I'm gonna do. So I thought really, really hard. The amount of time I spent on the press, very little, but the time I spent thinking was a lot. Spent a lot of time thinking about my moves, because if I am going to solo win this game, I have to I'll have to choose my moves exactly right. Very precise tactics, and I'll have to make correct guesses on several of my opponent's plays. So here's something that I determined. I decided that based on Austria trying to finish off Italy and the presumption that England's going to try to do the same in order to stay alive, to capture Tunis or Naples or something, that most likely Western Mediterranean Sea will be open. And therefore, if I move my fleet at Mid-Atlantic Ocean to Western Mediterranean Sea, at the same time that Austria finishes off Italy, it is possible, it is entirely possible that the fleets in Tyrrhenian Sea and Ionian Sea will be either those areas will be empty or the fleets in them will have to be disbanded. If I'm right about that, and I'm right about getting into Western Mediterranean Sea, that means that on the follow-up turn, I'll have a unit in North Africa and a unit in Western Mediterranean Sea and the ability to make a supported move into Tunis, capturing the center that I think I need to win. There's a lot of ifs. There's a lot of ifs. If I have the wrong idea about what England's trying to do, if I have the wrong sense of what Austria's trying to do, if I'm wrong about any of that, then this whole plan doesn't work. But on the other hand, I don't really see another way for me to get into Tunis, so I think this is my best chance. So assuming that I have the right read there, I built out a moveset that maximized my chance of being able to hold Tunis on subsequent turns. Here's what I realized. I need to move a fleet into, I need to move an army into Spain because Russia seems really likely to move Irish Sea to Mid-Atlantic Ocean and bounce my ability to backfill, which means that if I were to attack Tunis on follow-up, I don't have an easy way to bring another unit into the fray. So if I move an army into Spain from Marseille, on the follow-up turn, I can convoy that army into Tunis supported by North Africa, capturing Tunis. Again, I'm assuming there's going to be no fleets in Tyrrhenian Sea or Ionian Sea, and thus be able to hold Tunis against some attacks. I'll then further need to make a supported move into Mid-Atlantic Ocean and kick Russia out of Irish Sea somehow, force Russia to retreat to Wales or Liverpool in order to set up a stalemate line that incorporates Tunis. I'll have an army in North Africa, an army in Tunis, a fleet in Western Mediterranean, and a fleet in Mid-Atlantic Ocean. If I can pull that off, I'll put Tunis behind a stalemate line, and then I can grind down Liverpool and St. Petersburg if I'm able to pump out enough builds, probably fleets, to do that, while also defending Munich and Berlin against what is a likely onslaught of armies coming from Russia and Austria. So to head off that possibility, I want to move Munich to Burgundy so that I can support possibly Marseille, possibly Munich in the long run. And I decided to bounce Ruhr and Berlin off of each other at Munich because Russia has attacked Munich several times in a row now, I think 2 times in a row with Silesia. And so my hope is that Russia will do so again or do something else that when I bounce myself in Munich, that center will stay open. I'll be able to build another army and set up a complete defense while also building a fleet in Kiel. That's what I hope. Russia can counter this by making a hostile support, specifically by supporting Ruhr to Munich. If Russia does that, then I'm going to struggle to get out the builds I need to win. I think a lot is riding on this guess. I could stop. There's a counter for me. I could just hold with Ruhr. I could. If I think that Russia is going to make a hostile support and support Ruhr to Munich, I should just hold with Ruhr. That's not my read. That's just what I'm deciding to do. I could be wrong. If Russia makes that hostile support and it works, that my plan could go up in smoke. I also decided to move Denmark to Sweden, Sweden to Norway to try to capture those centers. I expect Russia not to stop me since Russia's been ceding me centers on purpose. And I decided to move Norwegian to North Atlantic Ocean and so that I can fight for Irish Sea and Liverpool later. and move English Channel to Mid-Atlantic Ocean, so that if Russia airs and makes some move that is not really that good, I'll actually get in the Mid-Atlantic Ocean and have that area locked up potentially. That'd be nice. And North Sea to backfill English Channel in the off chance that Russia does move there. It would be disaster for me if Russia got in. That's my plan. Now, there's many things that could go wrong with this plan. If I have the wrong guess about Austria's moves, if I have the wrong guess about England's moves, if I have the wrong guess about Russia's moves, this plan is not going to be one that it's not going to pan out. I probably won't be able to solo win. And even if I'm right and I set up for that attack on Tunis and I get my build in Munich and Kiel, it's still going to be a challenging fight from that point on, because I'm going to have to find a way to surround and destroy the Russian fleet at Irish Sea, and I'm going to have to find a way to line up enough units to grind down St. Petersburg, which could be difficult if I'm using many of my units to defend Munich and Berlin against Russian and Austrian counterattacks. If I have that all locked in, then how am I going to produce the additional units necessary to grind down St. Petersburg? There's a lot of ifs, there's a lot of things that could go wrong. But on the other hand, what have I got to lose? How else am I going to solo win? I don't see another way right now. I can't think of another scenario where I might win. This was the best I could come up with. So if this doesn't work, if it fails, I'm probably just going to play for a draw. But I'm not any worse off. All right. Okay. Whoa. So my moves, they worked for the most part. The important parts, my guesses were right. I was right that no one was going to move to Western Mediterranean Sea, which means that my fleet movement worked in, and my positioning of an army in Spain means that I'll likely be able to support convoy to Tunis if I want to. I guessed right that Russia was going to move to Mid-Atlantic Ocean, but I'm kicking myself that I didn't bet harder on my read there. My move of North Sea to English Channel was a wasted move, and I anticipated that it would be a wasted move if I was right about Russia moving to Mid-Atlantic Ocean, and so I didn't support my move to Norway, which means that Russia only has to disband one unit instead of two, and I'm going to have a harder fight. If I win this match against a united Austria and Russia, it's going to be very, very close. A very close run thing where I can afford zero tactical mistakes like that. No wrong guesses whatsoever from this point on. And if I had made that gamble, I would have had a little more wiggle room. So I'm focusing more on the negative than the positive. So let me change my frame of mind for a moment. This is what needed to happen for a solo win to be possible. That Austria did not attack me. So my decision on the previous turn to convoy to North Africa and then talk Austria down from my somewhat aggressive move prevailed. That strategy has worked. And a couple other things also worked. I did not lose a center to Russia at Munich or Berlin, nor did I get prevented from using my builds. If I had left Munich open or bounced in Ruhr, it would have worked against what Russia did. Clearly, Austria and Russia thought that I was going to make a support attack on Silesia, and that wasn't the right move. So no matter what all my possible moves, that would have worked. But at least I didn't make a supported attack on Silesia, as that would have failed and prevented me from getting a build. So that's good. Another thing that worked out for me is that Italy retained a unit. If Italy still intends to throw me the match, that could be significant. Analyzing the board, I realized that, okay, if Italy keeps Ionian Sea and cuts a deal with Austria and Russia, I don't know that Italy will believe such a promise, but just suppose that Italy did make that deal, then I can be stopped from getting into Tunis, and probably I won't be able to get a solo win. I do need some measure of cooperation with the last Italian unit. So at the beginning of the turn, I got a message from Russia. It was very short, and just thanked me for not attacking and letting him finish off Italy. But We didn't talk much since then. I really reached out to Austria and sent a thorough message trying to convey, hey, is there some way we could still work together? Is there any way to work together at all? What do you think? Austria never reached out to me. I messaged Russia just to chat a little bit, and Russia said, hey, I feel good about the move, bouncing in Norway, but let's talk after the game. And I respect that. There's not much to say while we're in such a tense and close fight. I understand the radio silence while we're duking it out. So I've decided to build an army in Munich and a fleet in Kiel, and there are very precise tactical reasons for this. I need to be able to make more builds while I get captures. Otherwise, I'm not going to have enough units to stalemate Tunis. I'm not going to have enough units to stalemate Tunis while also grinding down the 3 remaining Russian northern centers. I won't have enough. If I capture Tunis, I'll get another build, and then if I can capture Liverpool or Norway, I'll get another build, and then the whole thing will collapse from there. I will need 4 units to concentrate against St. Petersburg somehow. St. Petersburg will inevitably be mine as long as I have sufficient units. So building a fleet in Kiel allows me to do the following move. I'll move Kiel to Baltic Sea, and from there I can hold Berlin. I'll use the next turn to defend Berlin against the 2 Russian units by using Munich to hold Berlin while I move Kiel to Baltic Sea. And after that, I doubt Munich will be able to hold Berlin successfully because either Austria or Russia is going to send a unit into Tyrolia or Bohemia that can cut the support. So I have exactly 1 turn that I can use Munich to hold Berlin. Afterwards, I'm going to need to use the fleet in Baltic Sea to successfully hold Berlin, or I'd have to have a unit in Kiel. But by holding Berlin from a fleet in Baltic Sea, that means Kiel is open. I could hold Munich with Burgundy and Ruhr, and I can hold Berlin with Baltic Sea. That's a complete defense against armies in Tyrolia, Bohemia, Silesia, and Prussia. That is a complete defense, sometimes we call a stalemate. So, notice that my home centers of Munich and Berlin are going to be covered in that scenario. If I used Kiel to hold Berlin, I would have no home centers open for builds. So this is a very precise tactical situation that any player, an expert German player, understands the need to do this, because during endgame, a German player is often fortifying the area around Munich and sometimes needing to use Kiel and Berlin, armies in Kiel and Berlin, to defend Munich. So there is a tricky tactical situation where Germany needs to somehow put up a defense, but also keep supply centers open for builds. And that is the blessing and the curse of being a central power, is that the new builds are in a great position. They're right in the middle of the board, but that because those home centers are in a contested area, they can sometimes get locked in. So I think I've played this correctly. I have a plan to get into mid-Atlantic Ocean and then knock the Russian fleet out of Irish Sea. That'll prevent the Russian fleet in Irish Sea from hitting mid-Atlantic Ocean and cutting its support. That means my fleet in mid-Atlantic Ocean can whole Western Mediterranean Sea. And if I have units in Spain and Marseille, there's not going to be enough units to break through the support holding Western Mediterranean Sea, and the army in North Africa support holding Tunis will make sure that there's not any units that are capable of breaking through there. That defensive line accounts for 6 units, and the defense I need to set up in Munich and Berlin accounts for 5. So that's 11 units. The other 3 units I have to somehow make a capture somewhere, or I have to make a capture before I have to set up this line completely. That's not going to be easy. That may not be possible. Therefore, I'm really counting on some kind of last-ditch help from Italy. I know that I did not really help Italy when Italy was asking, so Italy may not be inclined to help me, but Italy did talk to me a little bit and asked what I wanted to do. I asked Italy to keep the fleet in Naples, the reason being that I can support that fleet into Tyrrhenian Sea, and that would wall off that area for quite a while. I might even offer to do that but just hope that Italy bounces Austria while I convoy into Tunis, and it never amounts to anything. I don't have to do the support. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to play it, but if Italy will cover Tyrrhenian Sea, that would give me another turn, probably, maybe two, to configure my units without having to actually form the stalemate line. That might give me the time I need to knock Russia out of Liverpool. To knock Russia out of Irish Sea into either Liverpool or Wales, so that Russia isn't able to hit Mid-Atlantic Ocean while we do the rest of the fight. I really wish in this moment still that I had taken the risk of leaving English Channel open and supported my move to Norway, because then this situation would be so much easier. But it is what it is, and now I will find out whether what Italy's going to do and whether I have the ability to win.